that way. See you guys. You're the important people. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. All right, let's call the meeting to order. 7:02. Is there any public comment? I didn't have any additions to the agenda, so we can move right into new business. I printed out the mill rate letter, and of course I left it at home. So, but it's more of a formality, I'm sure, a statutory thing that we need to, I know she needs to have it on record, signed copy. So we have set the mill rate at 34.7. 30, oh, is this the last one that she sent me?
The 34.73 was last time.
36.29.
No change.
Perfect. All right, so 36.29, so I'll revise this at home and print it out. But I'll make a motion to set the mill rate at 36.29 for the 2024.
I'll second.
28. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 5-0, and I'll, we have myself, Karen, Jeff, Jack, and Will, so all the board members of. So we can move on to you, Barbara. Yes, and Karen won't be able to see it. But you can just talk to it.
I sent her
Oh, you did?
the cover letter. I can't put it out yet.
Yep.
Her,
Sure.
Sorry. Tax collector. This is my first year of being tax collector, so it's my first time in front of you guys. But I have will be presenting my expense list for the 2022 grand list year that ends on June 30th. So I'm just going into the, you may keep that, but this I have to collect again. And it's just a breakdown of what. Uncollected collectible taxes. So these are people from prior years that we've done much as we can to try to collect the taxes on them. If they're motor vehicle taxes, we still report them delinquent to the motor vehicle department. If they stay in Connecticut, they can't register their car. But we've sent out numerous notices, and et cetera, et cetera. We're just trying to collect these taxes. So they will still be able to be collected, but they're going to come off of the on the budget part of it. It will be carried forward for that time. Kind of on the low side this year because I was trying to clear up some of the older taxes. You'll see they're 2013, 14, 15. A lot of older taxes that have been on the books for a long time. And they will probably be given to a collection agency for collection anyway. You can still get the money for them and the interest, but they're going to be taken up for accounting purposes. It's a better way to do it. Anybody have any questions?
Do you know what the total is that's already kind of in collections?
That are in collections already, I do not have that because I don't haven't been dealing with the American Recovery companies in Pennsylvania, and they're really difficult to deal with. Going forward, I'm going to use a more local collection company, so I don't have that information.
But they should be able to provide you.
They should be
A
able to give me
list.
what they have, yeah. Since I've been here in November, I've only gotten 2 payments from them,
Mhm.
payments, but, I don't think they're doing as good a job as I would like to see them do, so I'm going to be changing to a Connecticut company that has been highly recommended by several local tax collectors and Linda Savinsky. She knows the people and knows their, so we will be putting them with that going forward. I can't pull back what's out there, but go forward.
Why can't you pull back what's out
I
there?
don't.
I would think you
once we
could.
give it to them, they start working on them, they're gonna want us to pay for them, to pay what they've done so far. They can send us a bill for what they've done,
Right.
and,
But then you can take back whatever they haven't
yeah.
been successful
I
on.
would do that. I just didn't know if we should do that with, paying them something for their work. I don't know what they'll get. I can look, I can investigate and let you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, if we have a better recovery company where we think we do, I would think we would.
We'd like
I
somebody
don't know
local.
if that's a board of selectmen. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's a board of selectmen decision, but
Yeah.
I would recommend you look into that.
Yeah. We will be doing it.
Yeah.
So
So is this 16 is a total of everything, the 16?
24,640.
Oh, it's 24. Oh, it's a 16 and the
Yeah, the
8.
there's more than for in-person recovery.
Gotcha.
Do you know,
Okay.
give or take, the last couple of years historically, is this in line with how it's been
Yes.
previous
This
years?
is a little bit low, like I said in the
Yeah.
beginning, because this didn't want to go too far into, without having said that I've done everything I can for the more recent years. So
Okay.
took the oldest taxes and put them in suspense.
Right.
But I checked with some of the towns around us, and East Hampton, for instance, put 104,000 into their suspense this year. And so I'm nowhere near that, but they have a lot.
Mhm.
So, and Lebanon did 38,000. That's what Lebanon tax collector, quite a lot. So I'm hoping that, given another year of trying to collect some of these back taxes and being a little more aggressive in that pull back on some of those expenses. But this is, it's always been in the 30s or low 40s.
Right.
Historically, from what I've seen.
Nothing surprising.
Yeah.
One of the participants asked if you could get closer to the microphone.
Oh.
They apparently can hear the board members, which is great.
Oh, okay.
But since we only have that one microphone, if you could get closer and just aim yourself at it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was a microphone. Okay.
Yeah, so if you just wanna-
Very often. so.
Okay.
These are questions, so when like uncollectible, are we just getting like non-response
Yeah.
essentially? for
Yeah,
all-
we do mailings, we send out delinquent notices, final notices for, before we send them to motor vehicle, whatever. And they come back, the bill comes back undeliverable, the notices come back undeliverable. We have a fair amount of deceased people on this list that, are, so we're not gonna be able to collect on those things there, but people move out of state and they just walk away from our taxes, but if they ever come back into Connecticut, they'd still be put up to motor vehicle department to collect from that. We can hold up their registrations.
And how about, is there anything that gets held up, personal property, anything like that?
Personal property is the hardest tax to collect. There's no mechanism in the statutes that specifically addresses personal property. You really have to go after, a collection agency. And unfortunately, a lot of those businesses are out of business. They come and they go, and they're, once they close their business, they're very hard to get the taxes. So personal property is very challenging.
So is there a process for, person passes away? Obviously, that's not going to be collected.
Well,
What's the process for these items to be written off? What kind of, controls are in
This
there.
is it, kind of,
This is
you
it.
put it into suspense and, yeah, it comes off of the book so that we don't carry it.
Right.
For going forward, but, if they're deceased, it's usually hard to get anything from
Sure.
the state.
Sure.
But that's why we have suspense.
But when
so
a
that we
property's
don't have to have-
sold, the house is sold.
Yeah, I don't have any real estate
Oh, you
in,
don't?
in suspense, no.
Okay, so this is just all,
No, this is.
personal
all
property and motor
Personal
vehicle.
property. With,
Okay.
with real estate, I have the capability of putting a lien on the property. So the property has, so everybody is
Okay.
liened as of June 30th if they have a balance on real estate.
Mhm.
So, and that carries through for 15 years. So if they do go to sell, that's how we can,
okay. Yeah,
collect
so I
on
was
those.
getting- like, mixing it up.
yeah.
So personal property versus motor vehicle, what makes
Personal
the
property is businesses, you know, a lot of people have their businesses in their homes, and the assessor sends them declaration forms every year, and, but if some of them just never fill them out, and they move out of town, and we carry them, you know, and that's why they get a little bit cumbersome for that, so.
Great, okay. Great. So in case people had not heard through the conversation already, the total to be put on suspense is 24,649.43. And thank you for the presentation.
Unfortunately, I have to,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Can I make a motion to accept that?
Sure. Make a motion to accept the letter as presented from Barbara Lazari. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 5-0. Thank you. Vanessa. We are ready for your presentation.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Should
Evening.
I share my screen or are you sharing the presentation?
David is going to be sharing.
We
the
can do it
presentation.
either way.
Yeah.
Your screen, what would you prefer?
Well, let me try.
Sure.
And then if it doesn't work, we'll send it back over to you. How's that?
Sounds great.
After Karen, once she presents, just let us know that you can see it.
Okay. Yeah, do I have the ability to share, do you think?
I believe David can give you the ability.
Yeah, it says sharing is not turned on, so,
Just,
I just made you a co-host,
okay.
more authorities.
Okay.
You may want to stop later too. I think that way we know. How do you do that? When you click on, actually, never mind, it worked anyway.
okay,
Okay, you can see it?
we
Can you
can,
see the-
yeah, you,
Yeah, I can see it too.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Of course, it's on my other screen, so I'm going to be turning my head, but I guess that's okay. Okay, there's our disclaimer. I won't let you read that, so that's fine. Okay, so the agenda tonight, I'm going to talk about the terms of the engagement. I'll go over an executive summary of the results. I'll go over some very high level financial highlights, the federal single audit, then the state single audit, and then the governance communication, and then lastly end with the long list of upcoming GASB pronouncements. And if you have questions, either just, interrupt me or we can wait to the end. It's up to you. As far as the terms of the engagement, CLA was engaged to express opinions on whether the basic financial statements are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, to express an in relation to opinion on the basically federal single audit and state single audit, express an opinion on the compliance related to the major federal programs that we tested and the major state programs. To provide a report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance with laws, regulations, contracts, and grants. And lastly, provide a report on internal control over compliance related to those federal and state major programs. So as far as the results, we have issued an or a clean opinion on the June 30th, 2022 financial statements. This is the best opinion that you can receive. It means that everything is fairly stated in accordance with accounting standards. We did have a finding on internal controls, which I will go into later. The federal single audit results, similarly, a clean opinion on the one major federal program that we tested, and no compliance findings or significant deficiencies in internal control or compliance. And state single audit, same thing, clean opinion on the major state programs that we tested, no compliance findings or significant deficiencies in internal control. As far as the financial highlights, this slide presents all of the governmental activities aggregated together of the town, brought on the full accrual basis. So in this presentation, you will see capital assets and long-term debt. So just looking for the change from 2021 to 2022, there's really no great variance, I guess, between the results of 2021 and 2022. The only thing I would point out is that you did have a decrease in your long-term liabilities. So you were paying off your long-term debt, your clean water notes, and your OPEB liability did decrease slightly. So that's really the only significant change from last year to this year. Total net position did increase from 56.5 million to 57.7 million. And then on this slide, you will see the major funds of the town of Marlborough. So presented here are the general fund, the CNR fund, the MWPCA benefit assessment fund, miscellaneous grants, and then in the fourth column are the smaller funds of the town aggregated together into a column titled non-major governmental funds. So just kind of looking to the bottom of the slide, the general fund did have a positive return to fund balance of $683,000. Capital non-recurring did have a decrease of $405,000, mainly because there was capital outlay and no financing, which happens all the time. Benefit assessment fund did have a slight increase of 8 from 21 to 22. Miscellaneous grants had an increase of $194,000 from 21 to 22. And then your non-major governmental funds in the aggregate had an increase of about $284,000. So in total, just looking at that last column, you did have an increase in fund balance of about $775,000 from 21 to 22. General fund budget, the revenues were just small amount under budget, 24,000 under budget for 6/30/22, and then expenditures came in 564,000 under budget. So even though the revenues were under budget, the expenditures were much more under budget. So that's good news. The OPEB liability is 301,000. You are not setting aside assets to fund that liability. And I believe it did decrease from the prior year. For the federal single audit, the town spent $936,000 of federal awards. We did test the Education Stabilization Fund, otherwise known as ESSER. Again, we issued a clean opinion on the compliance of this program and no findings in internal control. State single audit, the town spent 3.3 million. We tested 3 programs, the tiered pilot, municipal purposes and projects, and then STEEP, the small town economic assistance program. Again, clean opinion on all of those major program compliance and no findings on internal control. We did, as I mentioned, we did have an internal control finding on year-end closeout, obviously, because the audit is significantly late. You know, our recommendation, you know, and obviously we know because of the huge turnover in the finance office that's why that happens. So our recommendation is just to look at the controls in the finance and make sure that there is procedures and a plan B if this should happen again. I can go over the exact finding if you want later, and I can pull it up. As far as the auditor's communication, so this is a required communication from CLA, from the audit firm, to those charged with governance, which is the Board of Finance. The town did adopt GASB 87, which was a new accounting standard in June 30, for the year ended June 30th, 2022. There was one lease that the town had to record as a lessor. So you are receiving rental income from, I believe it's the Mecca lease. So that's recorded as a receivable on your financial statements. And just because he was implemented in 2022, you're still going to have to keep looking at leases, you know, every subsequent year. There are estimates in each financial statement, so we're required to look at these estimates to make sure that there's no management bias, that management isn't trying to affect the earnings, if you will. You know, so we looked at the useful lives of capital assets, which is used to calculate accumulated depreciation, and also the OPEB liability, which the town uses an actuary to calculate that. So there were no issues with that, with those two. We did not have any disagreements with management. Management did not consult with other accountants for a second opinion. We didn't have any difficulties in the audit, really. It was just delayed. So that is noted in the letter. There were some material corrected journal entries. So those are outlined in the letter, and I just kind of put them on this slide. I won't go into them. They were in the miscellaneous grants fund, the capital non-recurring fund, and the town aid road fund. There were no uncorrected misstatements, meaning that sometimes if there's something that's off a little bit, but it's not material, we just say it's not material. It's, you know, we're not going to correct it, but there was nothing like that. And we are independent of the town of Marlborough. As far as the GASB standards, there's 2 slides of upcoming GASB standards. So in 2023, there's 4 standards that do come into play. I do not believe that any of them are going to affect the town except for GASB 96. So the town does not have any conduit debt obligations outstanding. The town does not have any public-private or public-public partnerships. If that is not the case, obviously we will talk about it, but I don't believe that is the case. Statement 99, which is the omnibus statement, some of that applies in 23 and some of it in 24. That's just various things that the GASB looked at to maybe clean up some language or just clarify what they mean. So really no big change there. But GASB 96 is very similar to GASB 87, which is the lease standard. So any software subscription agreements that the town has, and we're finding that there's more of these types of agreements at the Board of Education than the town. will have to be treated just like the lease agreements, where you'd have to record an asset and a liability. Also, what we're finding is that a lot of these agreements are not long-term agreements. They're 12 months or less. So that is not within the standard. So, fingers crossed that that's the case. We have had a conversation with the town and the Board of Ed. So I believe they're in the process of just creating an inventory of these types of agreements, and we'll look at them. So 2024, I already mentioned the omnibus. Statement 100 has to do with accounting changes and error corrections. It's just, again, kind of clarifying if there's an error, the GASB wants it presented in a certain way. If there's an accounting change, if there's a non-major fund that moves to a major fund or vice versa, they want that disclosed, whereas before it was not disclosed. It just kind of changed locations. In 2025, the new standard for compensated absences, I do not think that this is going to have an impact on the town, but there is a piece of it that I'm not 100% sure about, where they would like to have a liability recorded for time that could be used in the future, but doesn't necessarily have to get paid out. So in theory, I have a problem with that, because we used to only record liabilities for items where you'd have to come out of pocket. And that's not what this standard is saying. I'm still not 100% sure that that's the case. It doesn't come into play until next year. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more guidance out about that. Certain risk disclosure, statement 102, has to do with certain concentrations that the town may have. For example, if all of the town's employees were in one union, that would be a concentration risk. So things like that, the GASB would like to have disclosed. And then last but not least, the financial reporting model, which we've been waiting for I feel like 10 years, that's gone through a lot of iterations, has finally been issued, and it's really not as bad as we all thought. So there's some changes to the way the financial statements are going to look, but obviously more to come on that. That just came out a couple of weeks ago, so we haven't really had time to delve into it. And that is all. So I will stop sharing and open it up for questions. And like I said, I'm happy to share the finding on the screen if you so wish.
The only question I had, if you can just refresh us, what's the OPEB liability?
Other post-employment benefits. So those are healthcare benefits that you pay to your retirees.
Okay, I figured.
A lot of acronyms in government accounting. Yep.
I have a question. Not sure if it's more for Vanessa or for David, but slide 9, where it talks about expenditures and revenues under budget. Does that impact anything for the town budget this fiscal year? And no, because we're still waiting on last year's audit.
So, Vanessa, correct me if I'm wrong, but the net surplus,
Yeah.
which is basically what that is, contributed to the $650,000 that we were able to apply to this year's budget.
That's right. Yes.
And along those same lines, so was the total there, was the 774 the deficiency revenue? That was the total amount, and we took 650 out of the 774 on the financial highlight worksheet.
Page is that?
Page 8. Is that right, Vanessa? Is there another?
Yeah, I'm opening it up again. Oh, this, I'm sorry, the 774 was all of the funds together. So the 683 is just the general fund piece. So if
Okay.
you're talking about amounts to apply to 6/30/23 budget, that would be the general fund piece, which is the 683.
Okay, where do we see the 683?
So that's on slide 8 in the first column, the net change in fund balance.
Oh,
Oh, that, okay.
And that's on a modified accrual basis.
Gotcha.
There's 3 different bases of accounting in these financial statements, just to make them very understandable for everyone.
Mhm.
So on a budgetary basis, in the general fund, your revenues were 564,000. I'm sorry, your revenues were 24,000 over budget and expenditures were 564,000 under budget. So that's like 540 on a budgetary basis,
Mhm.
because there could be some encumbrances in there.
So the other 33,000 that's left, does the Board of Selectmen have to do a motion to move that into surplus?
I believe that would go into the unassigned fund balance, which,
Automatic,
yeah.
okay. That's all I had. Did anyone else? Karen or Jeff, do you have any questions? No?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Vanessa.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Hey, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So the next item is to approve the Board of Ed surplus of 40,822.02. As I think, well, some of you are new. Board of Ed has a fund they can take up to 2% of their budget into of surplus into a special account, and they use that for. They like to keep it reserves in case, like for this year, they didn't budget for any out of placement for the town. If they did have something placement, then they would be able to go to these reserves to cover that. So it builds up over time, but it's just like the town has reserves. This is one of their reserves to protect from an unbudgeted event. So I'll make a motion to move the 40,822.02 into the Board of Ed's 2% fund. Is there any discussion?
What's the alternative? Is that the only place where this can go?
If they decided, if they didn't feel they needed it, if they get to a point and they made down the road where they have more than enough surplus and they're very comfortable, then they would just give that back to the town and go to the scene unassigned.
Holly raised her hand to it.
Oh, hi, Howie.
Hi, thank you. I just,
Did I misstate something?
yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. I just wanted to, if I could make a minor amendment when I did the math again versus copying math provided to me. It was off by $1. So I just don't want that to create confusion.
Okay.
So if I could suggest an amended motion in the amount of $40,823.02.
Okay. I will amend my motion to 40,823.02. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Howie. Not hearing any questions. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. Moving right along. Financial reports. Didn't have any questions. I looked at them earlier today. Jeff shaking his head. Karen, you're good? Okay. You're good? Yep. Okay. Move on to liaison reports. Jeff?
Yep. The Ram Board of Ed met on June 10th. They did a lot of end of the year school stuff. Nothing really significant to bring to this board. The only other thing that I would just mention is that they don't meet next month. They meet in August again. So
Okay.
that's all.
Lucky then. I might do the same. Okay, Karen?
And actually, the local BOE will meet again in August. And that's probably when they'll have their actual final financials ready. But so far, at their last meeting, the new estimated end of year is 12,815. Favorable is what they're looking at to end the year, but we'll know better when it comes to August timeframe. So same
Great.
thing in August.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, move on to approval of minutes. I have a motion for the May 9th minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 9th minutes.
In a second.
I'll second.
Discussion. I didn't see issue. No. Okay. All in favor of the May 9th minutes as written? 5-0. Okay. Gotta see which one I have there. Okay, motion for May 15th,
Make a motion to approve the May 15th minutes.
second.
I'll second it.
Any,
And-
is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Abstain.
Jack's abstain. Okay, can I have a motion for May 22nd?
Make a motion to approve the May 22nd minutes.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion for May 22nd?
There was one thing, this is really minor, but on page 3 at the very bottom of it, there's a typo, the word culvert doesn't have a T at the end of it. So I didn't, it's let me see, I have it here someplace.
South Buckward Culvert.
It says Culver instead of
Yep,
Culvert,
yeah, Debbie.
and that was it.
Okay. All in favor as corrected? Okay. I have a motion for May 29th.
Make a motion to approve the May 29th meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion for May 29th? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Karen.
under the new business, where it says, the town received 2.6 million in extra state funding during the pandemic, could that be the town and school combined received 2.6 million in extra state funding? Because that was the combination number. So just add the town and school combined on that last sentence.
Yep, that makes sense.
And that was it on that one.
All in favor of the May 29th minutes as adjusted? Okay. Have a motion for the June 12th,
Make a motion to approve the June 12th meeting minutes.
second.
I'll second.
No sec,
I actually had some changes for that one. I think we should move the section of the town manager communication that's in kind of the middle there under revised budget. And also state that the town manager presented the changes to the budget. And then and then the details below.
and I had a question on that.
Mhm.
Also, is that in my notes, I could very well have taken the notes wrong. Is that year correct? I don't know why, but I had that it was a 2019 was a revaluation year and it says a 2021 was a revaluation year. I thought it was that it was the 2021 was affected or 2020 was affected. So I guess I just needed
Yeah.
clarification on that because I maybe took it down wrong.
Yep, David's gonna,
You're getting confused for the same reason that I got confused. And
Okay,
that is that the revaluation occurred in 2019 and it
that's what I
affected
thought.
19 grand list, which is used to levy taxes in 2020. So.
Correct, that's what I thought. Okay,
That means that that was my mistake. That means that the first year that we could use as the base point of comparison without capturing a revaluation was 2021.
2021, okay. So maybe we should reword that. Because it says
right, because it,
town manager communicates now where that 2021 had been a revaluation year. So we should probably say 2019
yes, okay.
had been a revaluation year.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Next year,
It's next year.
2025, yeah.
Right, right.
I don't know if it's every 5 years or if there's some other thing, but I think it is every 5.
Then every 10 is the physical.
Right, where they go above the houses. The one before was a statistical evaluation, so there were no inspections actually, or very few. They basically just looked at the broader real estate market and adjusted everyone mathematically. They didn't actually go and look at whether you had a gold plated toilets.
You have to paint over, you have to paint over mine. Okay, so do you have all?
Yep, got it all.
Okay. So, is there any other discussion? All in favor of the June 12th minutes as revised?
Abstain.
Okay. You're not. Okay. Right. Okay, thank you. Did not have any correspondence. I will open it back up for public comment. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Okay. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.